Good afternoon, my name is Bill Reynolds and I am here at Juniper Level Botanic Garden, and today we're going to talk about stinging insects with a focus on wasps. And bees are oftentimes looked upon as being beneficial, whereas a lot of people think of wasps as being a negative. But we're going to talk about wasps, we're going to talk about what they do in the environment, we're going to talk about what they do for your garden. And hopefully many of you will have a little bit of a revelation and let your wasp be. So, with that said, let's take a look. Most wasps are actually extremely beneficial, solitary, meaning that they're single mothers. They don't build large hives. They don't live in colonies. And so really what you're looking at is a single mother that either procures food for her babies or parasitizes other insects. And an excellent example here, we have some scoliid wasps. Let's come over here and zoom in on them. Scoliid wasps, smoky-winged wasps, these are all female, they're all capable of stinging, but one of the things I want you to notice is that they're not attacking, and literally even being able to pick them up like this, I am not applying any pressure when I do it, but I'm allowing them to walk onto my hand, walk onto my fingers. See, most of them are flying away from me. Here, let's try to see. And really getting these guys to sting would require grabbing them and holding and squeezing. Scoliid wasps are extremely beneficial. There are a lot of species. One of the characteristics they all share is oftentimes having smoky or dark colored wings. They are parasitoids of scarab beetle larvae. So what they do is they find beetle larvae, they insert an egg, their larva matures inside that grub, then the next year emerges as a wasp. So they go through a life cycle of an egg, a larva, a pupa, and then an adult wasp. So when we're looking at a lot of wasps, and are these capable of stinging? Yes. But only female wasps sting because only the females have stingers. Stingers are modified ovipositors, which is a female structure. And here with the scoliids, there are males and females. The smaller ones are males. As you can see, they are not aggressive insects. And even when you pick them up gently, no attempt to sting whatsoever. There are thousands of species of wasps, many thousands globally. Here in North Carolina, there are a lot of them. Most of the wasps that people have a problem with here in North Carolina actually belong to the paper wasp family, the vespids, and that includes your common polistes or paper wasps, yellow jackets, the aerial yellow jacket, which we oftentimes call the bald-faced hornet, which is actually not a true hornet but a yellow jacket, and then the introduced hornets. So let's walk and look and see if we can find some more wasp. And again, we're going to see more of the scoliids. Here we have a wasp, one of the thread-waisted wasp. Here, again, an insect that's parasitoid. And now she's over here. So many of these insects catch things like grasshoppers, crickets, caterpillars, spiders. They build a nest, they'll shove the food in, lay an egg or two, and then the larvae feed on the stored food. When they sting their prey, they aren't killing it, they're paralyzing it. So the animal is, the other insect, the prey item, is put into kind of a state of torpor, like hibernation or like being in a coma, and literally is being eaten alive by the larva of the wasp. Wasps here in North Carolina, they range in size from nearly as big as my finger, which is the cicada killer, which a lot of people think is a murder hornet. It's a little late in the season for cicada killers, but it's a very large wasp, again a solitary wasp. They're very curious, they'll oftentimes fly up to people, but in order to get stung, again, it really requires grabbing one. There are also hundreds of species of wasps that are so tiny you would never see them, and many of those are parasites on scale insects, aphids, mealybugs. Some of the smallest wasps can fly through the eye of a needle. Insects that are almost microscopic. There are even wasps that are parasites of things like butterfly eggs. So you can have a whole wasp carry out its entire life cycle in something that is extremely tiny, like the egg of a butterfly. So when people think of wasps, they always think of these aggressive yellow jackets living in a hole and you're out cutting your yard. But in actuality, wasps are extremely beneficial in that they are a natural means of control for many other insects. And many of those insects they control aren't necessarily pests, but it helps to maintain a balance of population. They're also very important pollinators. And this is the time of year for the scoliids. And they seem to like just about every kind of flower we have here in the garden. And like I said, let me see if I can get a better look at one of these guys. It's really kind of funny if you like turn the lights off, they kind of like go to, oh no, she flew out. But as long as you aren't really restricting them, like, see if I can get one. I'm just going to show you what's really kind of cool. They're very photo period activated, and now they're fast. One thing I don't want to do is to actually get one and pinch it between my legs, because that would make her panic. What I'm going to do, well, let's see, even then, you saw her crawl out between my fingers, no attempt to sting at all. And these are not things I'd recommend people try at home, because again, oftentimes people will constrict, and if these wasps feel as though they're being grabbed or threatened, will they sting defensively? Absolutely. Is it out of aggression? No. Like I said, these are all single mothers, and they can't afford to put themselves at risk by confrontation, so they're going to try to get away. Their main goal is to collect nectar and to feed themselves, and then to find, you know, adequate resources to feed their babies, which would be grub worms. There are wasps like dirt daubers, potter wasp. Many of these go after caterpillars, crickets, and spiders. They're actually wasps called spider wasp, like the tarantula hawk. They're relatives of it here in North Carolina that go after wolf spiders. What they'll do is they'll paralyze the spider, dig a hole, drag the spider down underground, cap the hole, and the egg they lay on that spider will make a new wasp. Paper wasp nests. All year this one was active. It's kind of the end of the season, so they've pretty much probably all died off. And even insects like this, the paper wasp, they are very important insects in gardens. The adults are pollinators, but they're also predators, and they go after caterpillars and aphids and grasshoppers and any kind of bug they can catch. They sting it, they chew it up, they bring it back, they feed the babies. The adult wasp themselves cannot synthesize proteins, or I should say can't ingest proteins, because they can't break down proteins into the amino acids they need. So they'll feed the proteins to the babies, which is the chewed up insect. Then the babies regurgitate and feed the adult wasp the amino acids that are necessary for the adult wasp to synthesize its proteins. So the wasp eats sugar, which is nectar, for energy, hunts bugs for protein, feeds its larvae the bugs. The larvae in turn feed the adult wasp by giving it the amino acid mix. So they have a really complex family structure. There's one reproductive female, the rest of them are all sisters. They're all daughters of the reproductive, and they're all sisters. It's those sisters that will attack and defend the nest. So when you poke a wasp nest, or when you disturb it and they attack you, they're really just defending their home and their babies, as well as their mother. Okay, here we have Perennia, and mostly, again, let's come over here and look. There's a few different wasps and bees, but again, we're looking mostly at the Scolia dubia. Oh, there you go. Now that's a spider wasp, or at least that's what it looks like. It looks like a pompiliid. I'm not sure, but that is a scoliid. Dubia is the most common. Oh, here you go. We got a pair mating right here. Mm-hmm. Do you see the male on top of the female? Mm-hmm. But when people go out into their flower gardens and they see things like these wasps, they're oftentimes afraid. They're like, I've got wasp on my flowers. Again, no biggie. These scoliids in particular, yes, they can sting, but again, not aggressively. They're not going to sting defensively. They will sting defensively if you were to squeeze them. But the vast majority of wasps that are in our gardens are going to behave much like these. They have no interest whatsoever in pursuing you or stinging you. These wasps are gathering nectar. Here's a nice little tiny wasp. It's one of the little mason wasps, I believe, little potter wasp. They have no interest. Here's a paper wasp. Now this is a Polistes. These do live in colonies in which, again, you've got the workers and the females. That is not a wasp that I would necessarily want to grab. They do tend to be a little bit more defensive. Here's another interesting wasp. It's one of those phecids. See this right here? These again are parasitoids of other insects. And as you can see, absolutely no interest whatsoever in attacking. Again, these wasps on here are interested in feeding. When wasps and bees, even honeybees, are actively feeding, that is not the periods in which they're defensive unless they are grabbed. Incidentally, like if you're weeding or picking flowers and you grab one, they are not in a situation or mindset to attack. These are feeding, they're not protecting a nest. And it's your wasps that are social, your bees that are social, that live in hives or nests, that are going to be the ones that are defensive. And again, it's about defending their homes. We as humans inadvertently knock on their door a little too hard, they don't respond very positively to it. So I just advise people, when you know where wasp nests are, leave them alone, let them do their thing, and they're a beneficial element in the garden.
All wasps die off in winter?
The vast majority of the adults do. Newly produced queens and females will hibernate, emerge the following year to start a new generation. Many of the old queens, depending on the species and the group of wasps, may have several seasons, but as a general rule, most wasps are pretty much one generation, and then the following year is a subsequent generation. However, when you try to there are no real good rules, they're just good trends or tendencies within biology. There's always going to be exceptions.
What about the clay wasp? Are you supposed to leave those two alone?
I would, because again, you're looking at a parasitic wasp that does its thing. And these are really quite pretty with the cobalt blue wings. And here's the Polistes. Let's just see. If I get stung, let's see what she's going to do. See if I can get her to walk onto my fingers. And again, generally these guys are not really any worse than any other. See, she's a little less interested in walking on my hand than a scoliid. But even with the species that typically are very defensive of nests, in a situation like this where they're nectaring, there's really nothing that they have to defend. And so these insects, again, I like these guys. Very good look at that. Here, let's see if I can get her to go to sleep. And she should have her wings closed, almost like she's asleep. Oh, there she goes. Now she's going to wake up and come out. There she goes. Yeah. It's really funny how photoperiod activated they are. It's almost like now she's waking up in the morning. It doesn't take much to get them to turn off when you take the light away from them. And here's the Polistes again, the paper wasp. And these are the ones that people oftentimes are so terrified of because they build the wasp a little paper nest like we looked at a while ago. But I just remind people, can they sting? Yes. Are they doing it to be mean? No, they're doing it to protect themselves and to protect their homes. And here's another scoliid. Oh, here it is. That's a real pretty one. Different species, but also same family as the dubia we were looking at a while ago. It's a really pretty wasp. And again, going to have the same, well, that one's a little more skittish. But again, none of these are there she is. Okay. Dirt daubers. They use mud. They make these chambers, and within the chambers they store oftentimes spiders or caterpillars or whatever. There's many species. But they store paralyzed insects and arachnids for food for their babies. The babies feed on it, then they pupate and emerge the following year. And typically these are somewhat solitary, but they do oftentimes live in leks, which means they're just kind of areas where they share and cohabitate, but it's not really a nest like with a hornet. I hope today that everyone's learned a little bit about wasps and maybe has a little bit better understanding and maybe even tolerance for them, because they are really beneficial insects in ecosystems. They perform a lot of roles. And their danger and threat to us is really relative to how we treat them. So as you can see, the vast majority really aren't going to be that bad. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to watch the video and hopefully learn a little something. And when you're out and about in your garden, just remember, watch what you grab, watch where you put your hands, and remember that most of these guys are actually doing you a lot of favors in your garden. So thank you very much, and I hope that you all have a good day.